Hello everyone, and welcome to another Arknights Endfield video. Today's video is actually specifically from one large video that I split up, one of them being the headhunting session for Mifu, and this one is the personal best as of the 5th of June 2026 of Rhodagn at E2. Now, this beginning portion, aside from the specifics of the video, a little bit of info over it. This is, of course, just to showcase the team setup, as someone did request when we first started doing, the second set of players in one session. I mean, multiple videos of E2ing a decent amount of the Umber Monument stages at E2, and they were wondering what the team was looking like. Now, of course, it shouldn't be too obvious. I mean, again, not like you can read my mind, but in some ways, due to the fact of characters being E2, they're pretty much not going to be able to get to gold gear, which means the building aspects of the character's kit with different sets of armor for most people is not going to be something that is available for me. So we're going to quickly go over, and this is kind of the first time doing it, so I'm going to really just go over it in a video, even though in the Umber Monument stages I did put in a description of what I mean by E2. I will continue doing that, of course, but for at least this video in particular is the full breakdown at the start here. So E2 is referring to Elite 2. Now, some people, certain other content creators that I talked about looking into things, I do want to talk about somewhat of an extent to Kugikaze, but that's not the part of this video, and I think there's some interesting things to mention or to note. I will say this right now, I'm probably not the only one that's doing E2, but I'm probably the only one that's doing it globally. Maybe. We'll see. Any more is the interesting question, more so of it happened before. Anyway, again, I couldn't mention it. I could probably talk about it more some other time when it comes to E2 as a whole and as a niche of in Arknights Endfield here. Anyway, I'm talking about E2. Some people might assume going to E3 but keeping at level 60. I feel like that's cheating because that unlocks more talent nodes. That unlocks the level 2 of the second talent of level 2. Because it's two different talents, this will be the second one, upgrading to that. Sometimes that may make a difference, sometimes not. In this case, you get this secret informant. But the biggest thing is the ability to equip gold quality gear, which opens up so much of what you could do, at least from what I assume and know, and how people have used different sets of equipment for the same character. To me, I think just not the fact of more stats at E3, of course, but even if you just kept at everything the same, except you get gold quality gear, I think that defeats the purpose, because I think gold quality gear is that important. It's as significant as weapons, of fucking course. Weapons are supposed to be good, and they are really good in this game. But it's also important that gold gear, especially with essencing, is insane. It's the reason why people think this game is easy. It's not easy when you're at E2, but for a lot of you, if you have your characters at E3 with the proper gold gear, not even essenced, and probably like level 80 weapons, if you at least tried, you could easily get trimmed of everything in this game, even for all the bosses, in my personal opinion. And you'll see with the later this video of why I say that. Just because there's so many ways to make yourself stronger, trying to DPS race is not that hard, or it shouldn't be that hard. It'll probably be hard later on with more complexity of bosses and you know, power creep for stats. But yeah, it's the reason why a lot of people have it easy, think this game's easy. That's how insane gold equipment is. So that's the reason why don't even go to Elite 3 at all. The only character that is technically at E4 or Elite 4 is Catcher, just because of PlayStation 5 trophies. Of course, I could show you guys. The only one that's the most left here is Catcher. And then of course you have Ember, who's next with at E2.
I believe.
Time
anyway.
for a real brawl.
So, yeah. That's pretty much when it comes to the Elite. You also can easily tell by the amount that is filled in over here. If a character's Elite 3, this will be filled in. Elite 4 filled in. If it was Elite 0, none of these would be lightened up. And I think at most you get to level 10? At least I should know this, but my brain's being stupid, I forgot. And I literally just summoned me, so I could probably just check the video, but I'm not going to worry about that. Anyway, I'm not going to go into specifics here. But the general gist is that at most E2 at what you can accomplish and do at E2. That's kind of the main goal, and I'm having fun doing it. I wouldn't have normally done this, but it is what it is, and I kind of just naturally got into this position. And then after I started doing a number of monument stages, I decided to just pretty much, you know, keep with the E2 shenanigans and see how far I can realistically take with this game at E2. Probably to a certain point, but I feel like eventually I'm going to fall flat on my face, and I'm just going to eventually not have fun anymore when the game is so difficult that it forces me to go to E3 or above. Until that point, which it will eventually happen in my opinion, because this game's going to be a lot more different than Arknights, just so far from everything we've seen. The fact of them being very hesitant in releasing forces of 5 stars. I'm sorry, this is not going to be like no more Arknights to an extent. There's going to be a lot of differences, and I don't have faith in Hypergriff fully, especially with how they handled everything for this point. We're not here to talk about Hypergriff and everything. I'm gonna start ranting and just go on a spiel. Anyway, so when I do this, I'm gonna go through it quick. You can take the time to pause it if you want, but for the most part, I'm gonna show you at least all the different screens. It shows you all the equipment, the tactical gear. I probably should just bring more in. Then of course the weapon and essences. If need be, I could show the essences, but for the most part, generally speaking, it should be kind of obvious just from this alone how it just filled, if it's a perfect essence or not. And of course, the weapon and yada yada yada. I'm not going to go too much into every single aspect, at least aside from the E2 aspect, but everything should be self-explanatory for the most part, of the skill levels, showing what elite I am, aside from levels, the weapon, essence, if there's pots for both the character and the previous game, or here. Actually, it'd be technically here for pots, but I'm going to say this right now. Unless pots are important, for the most part, you won't be seeing me showing the pot screen. And then, of course, the kits that the character is whirling with. I have 3 of the Observer Legacy for her. I might change it. It comes down to, like, testing different, corporal gear equipment and see what works and what doesn't. But I can't really say for certain. So, the team I did use, at least for this personal best, is Long, Mifu, Rossi, and Pogranishnik. Okay, Rossi's.
Let's
and of
go over
course,
the battle plan once
Pogranishnik.
more, shall we?
I didn't mean to throw my R there, but it's gonna happen at some point. I will say this before we get into the clear. There's a part of me, just from what I did to get to this point with my personal best, I do believe it's possible to get trim. I think it's possible to get trim. The issue is actually maxing things out. I don't know if Arknights can work with this weapon or not, and might need to get his weapon. But aside from that small detail with Arknights, I at least have the weapon with a perfect essence. So not all these characters are perfect essences, and some of these essences are not maxed out. So for example, she does not have a perfect essence. I just got the weapon. It's gonna be a hot minute before I could get perfect essences on it. And then the aspect of all of them being level 90. Some of them, like Garasi here, is capped. But if I were to upgrade the weapon to out of the last tier, I can, of course, get all of at least the first two maxed out, which does mean more stats. And that calls into question when it comes to weapons. Is it allowed for E2? Am I going to force weaker weapons in the future? Will that even be a thing to begin with? Is it fair to have a above E2 weapon for E2 characters for an E2 niche? Personally, my thought process when it comes to characters, as last thing to mention here, is I'm focusing on how much I could go with and for at E2. That does also mean if I can max out if the game allows me to max out a weapon for an E2 character, then I'll do it and I'll allow it. So if I can't use gold gear at E2, obviously I won't be able to do gold gear. I mean, you have to be E3 to do that. So hopefully that makes sense when it comes to how I'm going about this. I am not the only person that has done this before, and I'm probably not the only person who is the first person to do an E2 clear, but it's probably not as common as it was when the game first launched, and not many people in the global sphere have done this. So, yeah. I don't think there's really much else to note when it comes to this. So from now on, when it comes to future clears, aside, I'm not going to be yapping here, but I'll be showcasing the character from their main, like, this screen, then to the weapon screen, to the armor screen. And you can tell from here if the character is potted or not. Most part, don't expect pots to be important at E2, just because I'm going about this as getting the characters that I want to play, more so than anything else. I could have had all operators if I did summon for Leviatine at the start, but I didn't, and then I skipped Strong. So right now I'm technically missing 2 characters out of the launch characters of so far being 27 total. Camille will be 28. I don't know if I'm going to summon for him, but hopefully it kind of gives you an idea of the characters that I have. I'm not focusing on pots, but I don't know if pots will be necessary, or would be that an important aspect for me to complete something. That is to remain to be seen, so I'm not going to make it as an important deal, but if I acknowledge that at least a pot of a character or weapon allow me to do a clear, or I think it did so much for me for a clear that it was potted, I would at least mention it. But at this point, there really isn't, and I don't expect to be a importance to it in the unforeseeable future. I just don't see it being important. But again, you never know. If things could change, maybe I go for max pot Tang Tang. I'll at least mention that Tang Tang would be max pot, which she isn't, of course. She is not even a single part. But you kind of get the idea. Like, maybe in the future I decide to go for max pot for a character that I like. And that may or may not change things. But for the most part, most people would have a way easier time doing stuff than me, who's using E2. So even if a pot was important for a clear at E2, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't fucking matter, because you could easily do it without the character being potted and without a proper weapon at E3, just because of gold gear and increase of stats is going to be much more important than anything else at E2. So, yeah. At that point, we'd just be pulling at straws from a hay bale for whatever reason, and just making a big deal over nothing when you could just go to the store to get straws. That doesn't make sense as an example, but hopefully you kind of get the point. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now, and I'll let you guys enjoy the clear that I know there's gonna be can be improvements on it, not just from gameplay, of course, but lots of other aspects of fully maxed out weapons, with proper fully maxed out essences for weapons, and maxed out levels, and maybe the edits in the future, which I doubt it. And of course, food buffs. Food buffs are going to be an important aspect to at least eat trimming, maybe, if I can eat. You just watch it for yourself. I mean, you've already seen the time for the clear anyway, but I think if they introduce a better food buff, yes, I think E2 is going to definitely be possible. It might be possible now, I just don't have everything maxed out, and maybe there's some trial and error with certain things. Maybe I change the armor sets for some of these characters. I'm gonna stop ranting now and theory crafting, and actually we'll just enjoy the video. Restoration, not that great. Like the Genshin meat stew, 100 plus 80. It's not as great per se. I mean, they say that. Let's try it out. I know I'm not gonna have enough time. I wish you could just use it as permanent, but no, it does not count. I don't think this will carry over. It would make sense if it did. Come on. Let's go to Operation Manual. Index. Crisis. Let's do this. Let's see.
In position and standing
I
by.
wish it carried over, and I don't think it does. Because people were trying to buff and do it. I don't think it does, unless I'm mistaken.
War, never about mercy.
Shield guards, formation.
Guess which hand will crush you?
I keep getting hit. Gotta love it.
I'll teach you the hard way. My short teeth.
Gosh dang it. Yes, I know how that works. I don't think it's gonna be faster, personally. I need better weapons. 254. I have no clue, no effing clue if this is one of those things where if I can max out the weapons, it would be enough damage to do under 2 minutes. Like, I can see where I'm missing DPS from, and there's nothing I could really do about it. Because I'm waiting for everything to cycle back in. And it's like this set of characters is doing good, but I don't know, because Ember's good at stagger, but she's not good at DPS. High hopes. I'm just gonna see if I can how fast. At this point, see how much I can fasten the time and see how low I can get it. Because 2 minutes and 45 seconds is pretty good. Like, I think it's pretty fucking good for an E2 team. And I have that sneaky suspicion that I think if I had everything I could have maxed out aside from going to E3, it is doable. But I am going to end it off here. I have stuff to do here. So I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna end it off. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, just below. Just please go check it out for Discord. And yeah, be safe and be healthy. Good night, someone's gonna Shanteen. And I will see you all in the next video when that will ever be, or what it will be, or when it will be. Most likely probably an Arknights video. Until then, peace.